So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval is unanimous for the passage of the minutes. Okay, we'll move to the next subject is the summer events update.
Good afternoon. Commander Richards from the Police Department. And at this point in time, we continue our planning process for both the parade as well as the 4th of July fireworks event. We also have events surrounding the parade, which are in the process of being planned. Event applications have been made, and we are making contracts and getting equipment ready and signed up for both the 4th of July and anything that's needed for the parade. All city staff is working on it from the various departments.
Great. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
As far as the fireworks are concerned, is it a go? Is that the official word and we're just getting everything lined up to pull it off, or is there still some questions on it?
It's a go. We're going to make it happen.
Great.
City staff is all working together and going to put this plan together and get it going.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with the construction at the marina and the logistics around that, how do you have that all planned through, or is that something that we can talk about now, or you can share, or are we still working through that?
We're working with the contractor. We're adding extra fencing in order to protect the ongoing construction site. Contractors working with us to identify critical areas. We're also working with them in terms of moving fireworks display items onto the fishing pier. And we're adjusting some of our traffic plans accordingly, and also our crowd or spectator areas based on what's going on down in the north lot.
So will there be spectators in the north lot, or will that be closed and they'll be over in the beach park, or?
They'll be in the beach park. They can be up above in the new park, but there will be an area behind the fence, what is Dock Avenue, where there can be some spectators down in that area, but not what you would normally expect or how we used to or normally fill the whole north lot. It's going to be a limited space, and we're putting added fencing in to protect both the spectators as well as the construction site and what's going on.
So the next natural question for me, if Dock Avenue is going to be the spectator place, is there, I'm sure you've worked with fire to ensure that access around that building?
Correct. It's all been planned.
All right, thank you.
Commander Richards, thank you. I'm thrilled that all the powers that be came together to make sure that this can happen for our community. Very thankful however that happened. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. We'll make it work.
The next item on the agenda is the flock camera update, and I'm not sure who's
Yeah, so the agencies across the United States that are using this and actively using this what's been the feedback, and do you have like percentages of successes in identifying and finding the folks that committed the crimes?
Yes, sorry about that. So yes, the numbers, I don't have the percentages in front of me, but some of the examples given for what you're talking about is stolen vehicle recoveries, significant increases in recovering stolen vehicles. There might be a silver alert or a missing person, for example. There's significant examples and percentages where we could be immediately notified. You can have it set to where within minutes of, say, an Amber Alert, it would notify that that particular vehicle went by a particular spot and would notify our department that occurred. But all of the numbers that I saw were double-digit increases in efficiency, really. Again, I've got some of the information, but I didn't bring percentages.
That's fine. I appreciate the regional approach to implementing this particular camera system. There's a lot of camera systems and that, but this one is really a step forward in technology and a step forward in combating our hotspot areas. So I appreciate bringing that forward and working on a regional basis to make that really happen.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you can answer this, so I'm not trying to. But, there was when the pot shop went in up on Pacific Highway with all the cameras that it had, and it had very good security around there was a drop in crime. I remember that pretty clearly. Do you have any corollary report of the areas where these flock cameras have been put in that indicates a drop in crime? And like I say, I know you didn't bring statistics, so if you just don't know, that's perfectly acceptable. But
Just information from the vendor. So do I personally know? I do think that what information they're sharing with us, because they list agencies, and again, they're doing this throughout the nation, and so the agencies that are utilizing it are seeing success to include percentages. So unfortunately, I don't have that with me.
okay, thank
Do
you.
you have another question? Looked like you maybe did.
No.
No, do you have another question?
Nope.
So, there was a little bit of talk when we discussed this in a previous committee meeting, and so there have been certain concerns about privacy, and I think some of those have been addressed previously, but I'm just wondering if you could give us a little refresher about their ability to look through the front of a car.
You bet. Yes. So the cameras are all designed to basically capture the rear of the vehicle. So there's, first of all, there's no personal identifying information. You're looking at the back of the car. It's designed and set up that way. The retention of information, it's a 30-day retention. They have a legal department. They're ensuring that they're following all state laws in where they're operating. And so, and it's on a public roadway. That's the other part to keep in mind. So whether it's a stolen vehicle or just a vehicle we're looking for because of missing person or what have you, it's on a public roadway. So that's, I think that's probably the main points considering privacy issues. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is the animal control update.
Commander Richards returning. The animal control contract and scope of work that they will be doing for us as part of the contract has been reviewed both by the city attorney, the police department, and Burien Cares, and it has been looked at and approved by all parties. An agenda item has been created, and it's going to be presented to the entire council with everybody's approval next week so we can get animal control back up and running in the city. It includes those things that had been promised in terms of the ongoing, the current shelter contract that's in place as part of that contract. And it includes those things that they talked about. A trained animal control officer with prior experience will be assigned to the city for 40 hours a week. We've made arrangements within the police department to give them a place to operate out of during the day when they need to, so they won't have to go all the way back to Burien. They can stay in Des Moines for the most part, other than when delivering animals and that type of thing. They'll also have a limited commission because there were some questions about criminal cases and criminal investigations, so they can issue some of the citations and do some of those things in conjunction. So we're picked up some of those areas that we thought were of concern, and they've agreed to them. We picked those up and added them to the contract, and it's all been agreed upon at this point, just for a final review from the full council.
One question. There was a topic of discussion about after hours, and before we didn't really have that in the contract, I think the guild contract, but is it my understanding that in this new contract with Burien Cares that there is an after-hours provision?
There is an after-hours provision. It'll be similar to what we had before, but when we still had Officer Magnuson working for the police department, if a patrol officer ran into an issue, they picked up the phone and they called her. And we'll have that same element in place that we can pick up and talk to somebody 24/7 when they're not on duty. And if it is of high enough concern based on what's going on that they need to come in and respond, they will.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Commander Richards, if I can kind of walk you through a couple of scenarios so the public understands exactly how to access this. If I find a stray dog on the street that's friendly, I can, essentially capture it. What should I do at that point?
Take it to Burien Cares. There will be specific hours, and once those are firmly established, and they're going to be business hours for the most part. We're still working on what the finalized hours will be, and we'll publish those out to everybody and make arrangements that they may be able to meet the animal control officer. But if it's an after-hours type situation, if they pick them up on Sunday evening, for example, we'll make arrangements through Burien Cares. It'll be an after-hours type situation where they can drop them off or we can pick them up, depending on what's going on, if animal control's on duty at that time.
And if animal control is on duty, should they call 911, Burien Cares, police department? Who would they call to say?
We're going to give them a police radio, so if they do call, not 911, but our non-emergency number be preferred, then we have communication with them. They can also call the police department, who has communications with the animal control officer through the radio or through cell phone. They can also call Burien Cares, and they can get in contact with them if it's during regular duty hours.
Now, changing the scenario just a little bit.
Yes, sir.
It's a threatening dog or appears to be dangerous. What is the public supposed to do?
If it's an aggressive animal, they call 911 or the non-emergency number and let them know what's going on for the police department. And the same thing, we'll dispatch animal control if they're on duty. If they're not on duty, then we will dispatch an officer, which is what we've currently been doing. And if it's deemed that it's of a significant enough concern, we capture the dog, it bites somebody or something like that, we follow our current protocols, but we also have the added advantage that we can bring in a trained animal control officer to help us capture and transport and house the animal.
Wild animals? What happens with those?
Fish and wildlife, yeah. We don't deal, the animal control, they might be able to give you some advice in terms of dealing with something like a possum or something of that nature, but when it comes to wild animals, we've never dealt with them, even when we did have Officer Magnuson in animal control, other than giving basic advice on who to call.
Yeah. So, yeah, just want to make clear what the process is supposed to be.
Understand?
It'll take a little while to get everybody acclimated back to that.
It will. And everybody will do their part, both from the patrol officer side of the house records and everybody else at the police department to start navigating everybody. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All good? Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
What questions can I answer for you on the mental health team?
Well, it was on the agenda to give an update or briefing. I know that we did talk a little bit about it, last meeting. So I suppose it could be, so if you don't have anything more to add, questions?
We have hired one person full-time. She is working with us. She is in the process of training and learning the city. She comes from the Midwest, so Des Moines is a little bit different, and we're getting her up to speed and introducing her both to city staff and resources in the area that she can start using. We have one vehicle already assigned to the team. They've already made some referrals. They've helped patrol with some suicidal subjects. One person in particular is associated with the VA and helped him get in contact with the VA and that type of thing, and they're monitoring calls and helping and starting to go do outreach. Some money came back from a grant for us to possibly use, and we've added some things that we think are important to help identify the members of the GPS team, as we're calling them. Getting people services is what we're calling the team, the GPS team. And looking at some things that we can do both through vouchers, through vehicles, and through outreach, that we can start getting these people tied back in for the most part, up into including a laptop with a Wi-Fi so that we can help them fill out to get the application done to get an ID again, or to get an email and check an email so they can get in contact with family that they may not, because they don't, with the things, they may not feel comfortable going into the libraries, or the libraries are too far away or whatever, and starting some of those, developing those relationships so we can get them moving in the right path where, number one, we can get them housing, but also get them the assistance and everything else they need. Now, if they're already in the community and already housed, then getting them resources. It might be as simple as helping them fill out to get an appointment with a doctor. So we're looking at just kind of thinking outside the box a little bit on things that we can do to help people.
Yeah, what exactly is the follow-up then? Is that up to the social worker that's working for the city with our department to see if they went to the doctor, to see if they got the appointment that was made for them, or does that get put to the agency where they were supposed to get the care?
Follow-up can be with who they get a care from, but the other thing is we can, and one of our plans has been all along, is to reach back out. I can pick on Councilmember Pennington and say, Vic, did you go to your appointment? How did it go? Is there something else I can do to help you get to your next one, or what do we need to do? And open that line of communication, and as they work through the system, if they hit a stumbling block, then we're a resource to help them get over that.
My wife used to work for the King County Crisis Response Team, the suicide prevention team, where she would go out, and when she got a call, it was a very intensive suicide prevention intervention. And a lot of times, the individuals were taken away or referred to a different community, but that was, unless they voluntarily pursued the follow-up, it wasn't an expectation that there would be. Will there be an expectation of follow-up on behalf of our social worker? Or is it, that's what I'm trying to understand.
It'll be a case-by-case basis. It'll really depend on where that person is in terms of their crisis, and building those relationships and figuring out whether or not that's something that needs to be done. It may not happen on the first time, but if the person starts calling again, or there starts being issues again and needs a little bit more follow-up and a little more close, I don't want to call community supervision, but kind of helping them navigate the process, then that's what they're gonna do. Yeah, if that's what we need to do, you know, and if it means sometime we have vehicles, and if the biggest road is them not getting to an appointment because they don't have a vehicle, then we're in the process through this grant of getting some bus vouchers and those kind of things, and if the bus voucher doesn't work and we feel safe and comfortable, then maybe the person gets delivered to their appointment to help facilitate that, them getting to the next step and getting help.
But as what I'm hearing is that's kind of gonna be figured out along the way.
Depending on the person and where they are in terms of who, you know, having help within their families or what's going on. It'll just kind of be on a case-by-case basis, but us doing follow-up is completely possible.
So maybe I can jump in with part of your question. In my experience with the CARES program that we managed, it really is, you know, you have a structure, but there is really kind of a case-by-case based on what resources they have, you know, individually. So you can build, you know, different paths for these folks and to help them to get where they need to be. So it really is, you know, kind of on a case-by-case and like, again, depending on what resources they already have, what they don't, how you identify that, and so it has to be fluid. Otherwise, you know, if you just plug everybody into one box, it isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. So, you know, so anyway, that's been my experience, and it's been successful that way, and at least in the fire service, they've had that very, very well received for a number of years type of program.
How about you?
No, I'm good.
So thank you. So just to clarify, you talked about a team. So this person is part of a team. Will she ever be out in the field alone, or it will be a team, like they have a car assigned and there's always a partner?
It'll depend, just like we were saying, it'll depend on the situation. The team is, as we're calling it, as the patrol commander, I'm overseeing what's going on the team. Sergeant Scott Oak is the team supervisor, and Community Service Officer Tanya Seabury, and also then GPS team member Abby Ryman is who we just recently hired. And so we're coming at it from different angles and different sides, and all with the same goal of, you know, doing different parts. Now, Abby is our social worker, our outreach person. Currently, she's working with Tanya. And as she becomes more comfortable and completes her training, then she will go out and do more things on her own. But we're mitigating any safety issues or problems. And if it's a situation where she shouldn't be going by herself, then maybe she's even going with the patrol officer or Sergeant Oak or something like that. So it's really kind of how things play out in the individual circumstances.
Yeah, and she's got a radio, right? So if she finds herself in a situation where she needs some help, she can just radio for it pretty quickly.
Yeah, she will have a Valleycom issued radio and have a designation and everything on it.
Great. I'm excited about this to see how this comes out, and with some of the innovative things I really appreciate. For example, you talked about that computer where you bring that resource out into the community. If somebody needs help right now, you get them help right now from the car, you know, right out on the street. So I'm excited to hear how this is going to unfold in the community. I appreciate being able to have this resource.
I think it's going to be amazing. Somebody who's been doing this a long time, I'm excited about it as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Shannon Kirchberg, Director of Emergency Management and Workplace Safety. I'm here to give you a quick update on our Pierce College Capstone project. With the stand-up of our EOC, we were in need of developing some position descriptions, task books, and training. And with our partnership with Sarah Miller Consulting, Sarah is the head of the College of Emergency Management at Pierce College, the bachelor program. So their capstone project this year, Sarah came and asked if her graduates could develop all of our task books and title and our position descriptions for the EOC, which they have come to us gangbusters. They started working on this at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and to date, they have delivered EOC position description, task books, and checklists for the EOC director, the public information officer, our legal counsel, our liaison officer, situational awareness section chief, our planning section chief, and our resource support section chief. In addition, they have developed homeland security exercise and evaluation programs and compliance training, including exercise series for our EOC leadership team, our center support section chief, our facility support unit training, our administrative supportive unit training, our finance admin branch, our operations branch, our policy and direction for the whole entire EOC, resource tracking, as well as understanding resource requirements. Still to come would be a discussion-based tabletop exercise that will allow us to practice our EOC skills and our new training. So a whole lot of work has been done in 3 months by this group of 17 amazing bachelor degree students in EM to the city of Des Moines. I have not had the opportunity to go through every single one individually because they come in huge packets. So we will have some updating and some tweaking that we'll need to do to make sure that it fits our EOC and our people and the people that are sitting in each seat. But as a start, it was a huge undertaking, and I am incredibly appreciative of what they have delivered so far and looking forward to the rest. We should have everything should be complete by the 17th of June.
Any questions?
That's a pretty incredible amount of work, and pretty neat to see that. I can speak on, and I know I've said this before, but back in, how old are your children now, Commander Richards? Back when they were over 20 years ago, it was literally her and I that ran emergency management for the city of Des Moines for years, and there was no participation by any division within the city, and it was the attitude of the then city manager that if you're going to participate to the divisions in emergency management, you need to put it in your budget because the city isn't paying for it unless you budget it individually. The work that has happened over the last number of years is pretty incredible to see where we've come and where we are today. So again, the relationships, the work that everybody's done, it pays tremendous dividends in what we've just been through. I'll cite one other example. When Commander Richards and I put together a simulation of an aircraft that was crashed into Puget Sound with 36 different local and federal agencies, including the NTSB, FAA, the whole 9 yards, just like you would get. It was about a month later, Alaska Airlines dropped a plane off of San Francisco. The same people that were here were down there. I got a phone call a couple of days after that, and they were so thankful that they'd had the experience off the airport site. And you know what they learned and who they dealt with, different state, different agencies, but it all came around, and so that's where we've come from to here. So to you, to everybody in the city, the city admin, each employee that we have, thank you for embracing the world of emergency management and making it a part of our culture. That's so important, so important. So anyway, I look forward to to this, I also would look forward to some, at some time in the future, some education for council and understanding elected official roles. It probably isn't what some think it is. So that would be great. And again, thank you very much.
Well, wow, it's amazing when I listen to you, it's like, wow, all this amazing work goes on behind the scenes and nobody knows what's happening, and it's a super valuable resource in case something incredibly tragic happens. And I appreciate, not only is what was produced a resource, but the partnership
Yeah.
with the college. It just, every, I turn around every few times a year and recognize, wow, another amazing thing has come out of our partnership with Highland College. And so I appreciate you nurturing that, and then this comes out of it. So thank you for your work, Shannon, and if any way possible, send our thanks and candy bars or something to us.
Well, I was going to ask Sarah if she wants to bring, if any of her class want to come to council when all of this is done, because they graduate from Pierce College, I think the week of the 17th. So if any of them wanted to come, since we'll be back in person, maybe they want to come and get a kudos.
For the whole council, but it would be nice to honor them.
I agree.
And to thank them, maybe during public comment or something.
I agree.
Acknowledge what they've done for us, so.
Just another couple of notes. We're bringing back Cert this fall. So we have a Cert meet and greet that is going to be taking place Thursday, June 23rd. There's going to be a total of 6 cities there. We are having it in Tukwila at the EOC there, which is the new police station that was built on Highway 99. It's on Facebook. So anybody that is an existing Cert or is interested in getting additional information on Cert can come to this meet and greet on Thursday, June 23rd, and get additional information on that. Stop the Bleed training will be taking place June 28th at the Field House from 6 to 8 p.m. Anybody interested in registering can go online to the city Facebook page and register there, or call the Field House and register with the Field House. And then Cert training, we are partnering with the city of Tukwila and Burien. And Cert will start September 8th, and it will be Thursday nights through October 15th with our wonderful partners, South King Fire and Rescue. Our final drill will be at the training facility. So.
Great. And that is, where do you have all that information online?
The Cert class for September will not be open for registration until the end of July, but all of the meet and greet and the Stop the Bleed are on the city's Facebook page.
City's Facebook.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are busy. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think, Shannon, Cert is very popular around my household. My oldest son got very excited about the Cert class. That helped him choose, his degree.
Yep.
Criminal justice was as close as he could get, but, that's really what he's interested in, is emergency management stuff. It's a great class for everybody. We need more young people involved.
Yes.
There also is a Teen Cert program that I think he sent you a link to.
Yep, we were looking at doing Teen Cert right before COVID hit. We had it all lined up and ready to go as part of a public safety program. And unfortunately, when COVID hit, the brakes were put on it. So maybe next fall or the following year we'll be able to get Teen Cert back in the schools. There are a few school programs that do Teen Cert in their high schools. So we're hoping to get it started.
Yeah, it's just it's a really rewarding program.
It is.
My son's gotten interested. He picked up FEMA certificates on all kinds of different things now. Like I say, he got his degree. And a large part of that was because he attended the Cert class, and it just opened his eyes to all the possibilities that are out there. So, if there are any people in their 20s wondering what they want to do, and I know you got to be 18 years old to do Cert.
Yeah.
But, anybody in that, it's a great class. You get exposed to a lot of good things. And there are just all kinds of opportunities out there that you can, follow as a career path if that's what So, thank you, I think it's a great program.
And I can start on that. So the parking ordinance was passed on March 31st of this year. The ordinance is working as expected. The police department here could affirm to that. There were some questions from this committee in April. Following that, Councilmember Steinmetz met with Assistant City Attorney Matt Hutchins to discuss some of those concerns. And then the issue came up again in May at this committee meeting. And at that meeting that I attended, there was a little confusion, and maybe that was on my part, about whether the committee wanted an ordinance rewrite or if there was just a memo to explain some of the issues. So I rewatched the video, and the committee had asked for an explanatory memo to address Councilmember Steinmetz's concerns. So that was drafted, that was provided today, and based on that, the explanation in the memo, the fact that the ordinance is working as expected, staff's recommendation is to take no further action.
Yeah, Mr. George, I read your memo, and I'm more convinced that I'm right. I really don't think that this is well drafted, and I've shown it to a number of other attorneys, and they agree that there are going to be some problems with these. When you say it's working well, I think the initial idea behind it, which was to get the junkers off the street, it does work for that, but there's a lot more in this ordinance than just that, and that's what I was trying to address. I understand you don't want to do any more work on this, and that, you kind of make that the point in your last paragraph, and that, this is not, this is not ready. But we've already passed it, and I passed it because the chief said he was ready to go on the cars and needed that, and I thought there was going to be the opportunity then to correct that. I'm sorry that you don't feel that way.
Well, if you wanted to provide, if you wanted to send me an email or something with your rationale other than you just think it's drafted poorly, I'd be happy to look at that.
So I met with the assistant city attorney on that, and I thought we had a very good discussion, and I thought things were understood. If you want, I'll just redraft the ordinance and submit it.
So, I think, if I can interject for a moment, my understanding of the conversation in the last committee meeting was that when we felt like there would be an open, a little bit of flex and not such a stacked committee meeting, that we could reserve out some time for some specific questions and specific recommendations possibly from Councilmember Steinmetz. That way, we could gather either support or not support, or make sure that all the questions that he had were answered, if it's sufficient, if the rest of us are happy or not about that. It sounds like there's a little bit of dissatisfaction. Okay, so.
Well, and I'll just go back to my original recommendation. I think our staff that worked on this, we're all satisfied that it's written correctly, that it can be implemented and enforced, and we're not concerned about it. So if the committee would like us to do additional work, absolutely. But if the committee would like to take that recommendation, then we're happy with that too.
I read this and I'm satisfied that it's met the intent, and I've no disrespect, Councilmember Steinmetz, but the city attorney, or the attorney that I listen to relative to city business, is the city attorney. And if the city attorney, his staff have gone through this, and I know from years of experience, there's a lot of things they've written for us, and they've withheld the challenges that have come that way. So I'm satisfied with the response, I'm satisfied with the ordinance, and I think that we need to move on, and we've got a lot of other business that we need to take care of. I don't see a real productive value to belaboring this much longer.
So what I'd like to do at this point then, my input on this is after reading the memo myself also, seeing the multi-department collaborative agreement. That was important to me too. It wasn't just the city attorney, but the police chief. And coupled with the fact that we were almost the last city in King County to enact an ordinance like this, meaning that several jurisdictions have had years, if not decades, to practice. So, and that there was quite a bit of research done to grab a hold of a good code that had been in practice. I'm assuming that if there were challenging situations in other jurisdictions, that amendments had been made by their councils. My guess. So what I would like to do, so my personal feeling is, let's go forward. If we have a problem, I don't think it would take very long to create an amendment if there is an outcry. So at this point, I personally agree with Councilmember Pennington. We are pressed